Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. I tell you what, my week was so awesome in terms of just not having to worry about tracking. It was just so freeing to get up on Monday and be like, I'm not tracking. I'm just going to enjoy myself this week. And my gosh, my week was so busy. It is actually very fortunate that I'm not or was not going to be tracking macros because I don't think I would have had the time, to be honest. So it kind of worked out really well. But I think a lot of people had kind of asked in the comments, what is my plan now between, I guess, here and my next show? And because it's such a short period of time, I only have 4 weeks basically until show day. In fact, let's go over and take a quick peek at my, I guess, client tracking sheet. We have 30 days almost to be exact until my next show. So in terms of reverse dieting, that's really not something that I'm going to be doing. Because I took this week off to mindfully eat and just kind of enjoy portions of the foods that I usually eat, but just larger sizes to feel a little bit more satiated. It's going to be straight back into, I guess, cutting again. So I hopped on the scale this morning and honestly, I was like, I'll be cool if I'm back up in the 140s, like where I was when I started, just based on the really large shift in my macronutrient intake. So going from being in a really depleted state, and when I say depleted, I'm specifically referring to low carbohydrate, low glycogen storage, and obviously very low total body water because my glycogen stores are also very low. So going from that place where you've basically got an empty cup to a full cup again, I would have expected a lot of change on the scale just in response to that, let alone a little bit of body fat regain. So I kind of, got in my mind this morning when I went to hop on the scale, all right, well, if it's 140, it is what it is. We'll do the work to get back to where you are. But I also know that it's not all body fat. So I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that it was only 136.8. So if you guys recall, I'm just going to scroll back up to my show day or show week. So the Monday of my show where I started peaking or preparing for the competition, I was at 133. So over a matter of 7 days, I've gone up, and I probably was about 133.8 on stage. So, I've gone up 3 pounds basically since then, 1.5 kilos, which isn't crazy. And when you see what I got to enjoy this week, like I am like, oh, okay, my metabolism is perfectly fine. And I think, based on the slow speed at which I did this cut, and again, just to remind you guys what that was, let me blow my screen up here so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. We'll go 150. So you can see here my target rate of weight loss. And again, I've kind of adjusted this as I've gone just so that you could see where I was actually at as opposed to what I set myself up for. And it works out it was only 0.3% of my body weight per week. So I was losing around 0.4 on average. We know it didn't occur exactly like that. But for that time frame that I was dieting, it was extremely conservative. So I honestly do not think that I'll have lost a whole lot of lean tissue in this cut at all. So yeah, I don't think that my metabolism has gone downhill at all. But if we go back over to my client tracking sheet, let me zoom back out. There we go. So, between that 133 and 136.8, I think that I'll be able to do that now and get back down to my competition weight in a pretty short time frame. So I think what I was just about to say before I got totally distracted was if I got up to 140 pounds, I knew that it wasn't all going to be like, oh my God, I've got to lose all this body fat again, like I'd just done from the beginning of my prep. No, it was just a very temporary increase in total body weight through increased water and glycogen. So happy to be starting at a number that I feel like, oh, okay, I did pretty decent. But I want to talk you through some of the foods that I got to have this week because it was so nice just to have some large portions. So I think on one of my check-in videos or something that I posted on YouTube, on Instagram, I showed like Monday night I had this delicious Thai red curry. I had some rice. I think we had another Thai dish. Anyway, I grew up actually enjoying a lot of Thai food. So one of my first jobs when I was about 15 or 16 was in a Thai restaurant, and the head chef Rani, she taught me how to cook Thai, and I actually had a kaffir lime tree plant in my backyard as like a Christmas present from my mum when I was young. So I loved cooking so much. So I really enjoyed Thai, but it's been one of these, it's like a love-hate relationship because it's very calorically dense when cooked the traditional way. It uses, full-fat coconut cream, depending on, which dish you order. Some of the protein sources can also be really high fat, particularly if you're ordering things like duck or beef. And then, again, depending on which dish you order, say a peanut satay or, a cashew nut, it can also be very high in fat through, other nuts and seeds and things that they're using in those dishes. So I think one of my goals as I've kind of become a better cook was to be able to make Thai food with lesser calories. And in one of our recipe, in fact, all of my recipe books have at least one Thai dish. But I've got a red curry in my recent book. I've got a pad Thai in my recent book. And I'm actually going to be putting up another one just on Instagram that I threw together this morning for you guys so that you can check that out. But I ordered so much Thai food on Tuesday, and then I actually ordered again on Wednesday, and this time I had a little bit of Thai and like a curry, and then I'd also ordered some riceless sushi, which was the first time that I'd really enjoyed a riceless sushi. So typically those, and maybe you guys have tried it, I don't know, they serve the like the filling wrapped inside like a cucumber, which is cool, very delicious, very refreshing. But this restaurant served it in like the rice paper. So as you can probably see on the video that I'm putting up on the screen, they were like tiny little rice paper rolls, and they were completely stuffed full with ahi tuna, like the sashimi grade ahi tuna. And they had like a little piece of mandarin on top, and then I got a tempura prawn piece of sushi as well. So I had a little smorgasbord, just a bit of each. And then, I would have it again like later in the day. And that is so high in fiber, like the number of veggies. So I'd order it vegetarian and then I'd add, chicken or beef. I can't remember exactly what I had, but so many veggies. So like not only was it delicious, but really satiating, very fibrous, which is still really important in this kind of post-diet period. Otherwise, if I just went for all, highly refined carbohydrate sources, I'd probably still be pretty hungry because I haven't gained back a whole lot of body fat, obviously. So that's still something that I pay careful attention to throughout the day. I also ordered from this company called Midnight Cookies. So you could buy a box of 4. So I'm like, all right, this is not something that I am going to want to fit in my diet next week when I'm back on macro tracking, because they are so calorically dense. And guys, I have played around with cookie recipes like you cannot believe, and I cannot make a reduced calorie cookie and it actually tastes any good, or like the texture's so off, it tastes like cardboard. I'm like, nope, this is not going to make any of my books. Like, you just can't do it. There is something about a cookie, the high sugar content and the high, the blend of fat. So those two things make it so palatable. When you start to modify and play around with the quantity of sugar or fat in a cookie, it's no longer a cookie. It becomes like, I don't know, a muffin or a bar. It's just no good. So I had one of those cookies that you can see on the screen every day. So Tuesday I had one, Wednesday I had one, Thursday I had one, Friday I had one. I'm like, yep, this is good. So that basically was like, it was 600 calories or so, probably 700 in some of them, depending on which one I had. So it was a good chunk of my calories for the day. But I also know, I'm having other healthy, nutritious, satiating meals, a cookie every day. And it's just not something that I'm going to choose intentionally to have in these next couple of weeks, just because I don't want to give up that many macros for such little satisfaction in terms of like hunger, because they're obviously very refined. So they were absolutely delicious. And then on Friday evening, I ordered with Sam some pizzas, and we were so disappointed. So I didn't really grow up eating a whole lot of pizza, to be honest. It was one of the things that my parents might take us to. Like, we did takeaway nights on like Saturday nights, I recall, as a family. We used to have KFC, or it was like Chinese food. Like you'd get, a big pint or whatever they're called, a tub, of fried rice, and then you'd have like sweet and sour chicken, and then I don't know, something else that was battered and fried and delicious. But pizza wasn't really the one that we always got. So I don't know, for whatever reason, I was like, I really want to try, I really want to have Chicago deep dish pizza. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. But anyway, I apologize. I have only ever had it one other time. And I think I was in one of the states up north, I can't recall where. And they made it like, it was like a single serve, probably this big. Pretty big single serve. I have no doubt easy 2,500 calories for this thing. It was so dense. But I'm like, you know what? I'd really like to try that. Like, let's do it. We ordered from this restaurant and the pictures looked really good. And then when it arrived, both of us were like, our jaws dropped to the floor. We were like, are you serious? And it was cold. So the picture or the video that you can see on the screen right now, it might look cool, but it was really cool to the touch, and it was just not what we were expecting. So, when you you're really looking forward to something, which, I actually am, because I have been dieting for a little while, and certainly not ordering pizza from a restaurant. I'll make it at home and I can do it pretty low calorie and it's still delicious. But it was just like, oh, wow. So we had a nice wine, and then we ordered crumble cookie to make up for it. So I'm pretty sure I had 2 cookies on that day. So that was a very low nutrient dense day. But do I eat like this all the time? Hell no. But was it delicious? Absolutely yes. And I think me and Sam proceeded to split those. I probably had way more than him over Saturday and Sunday, with my coffee in the morning. But they were really, really nice. So the crumble cookies this week were badass. One was wedding cake flavor. There was pistachio cream pie. There was a toffee chocolate caramel, salted caramel or sea salt caramel, something like that, which is really salty. I actually didn't like that one, that was my pick for which I thought would have been my favorite. But anyways, and then the last one, oh my gosh, I cannot remember. Oh, it was French toast. It was shaped like a cookie, crumble cookie, but it was soft. It was more like a hot, muffin or something just out of the oven. So that was really good too. And then it keeps going, guys. It keeps getting better. So there's a really great little croissant shop that I might have told you about in a previous video. So we went and picked up some freshly baked croissants, and then I made our breakfast here at home after a really good workout on Saturday. So we had bacon, egg, and cheese croissants on the patio, and that was really, really good. I forgot how much I love croissants, although they're so messy. I'm trying to work out if there's something in the middle between brioche bread and a croissant that I would like. Sam's pretty convinced that I would like biscuits. I still haven't had a biscuit, and most of the reason for that is it's usually served with things that have got garlic and onion in them, so I'm just no. But maybe I'll give it a go. I think they would be really nice. But anyhow, so I made breakfast at home on Saturday, and then that evening we decided to get Burger Stop. It just keeps getting better, guys. So Burger Stop is this restaurant really close to our house. I was getting my nails done one day, and I just saw the sign outside, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a dive bar. It's going to be just gross. But was pleasantly surprised when I went in and had a look at their menu. It's enormous, and they do just the most novel flavors and sauces and condiments and fried peanut butter balls and desserts, and I think they make an Oreo baked good. It was just all the densities all in one little cup. But anyway, we just got their burgers. So I think I had a chicken BLT, but it had a basil creme fraiche on it, which was really unusual. I was like, oh, that sounds nice. And then we ordered their bacon and cheddar cheese fries. So again, I didn't eat a whole lot. I honestly was so full by the end of the week, which was so nice because I haven't had that satiation for a little while. But I just tried a bit of everything. I think we also had parmesan truffle fries that came with his meal. His was a steak Philly cheese thing. I don't know what it's called, but it looked insane. It tasted insane. It uses a duck fat and a mayonnaise with the beef. oh my God, it was like tender, moist, just delicious. So I'm like, all these foods are so good. I've got to try and work out now. I guess when I have a bit of time, maybe for our next cookbook, like all the things that I've really enjoyed in like the last week, to make them in a healthier version for you guys if you want to have those types of things like all the time, because I definitely will be. So that was really fun. And then Saturday, yeah, that was just a day of basically getting my house staged. So I ordered a bunch of new things for one of the rooms. So I just sold all my gym equipment. You might have heard me talk about this last week. I don't use it. I used to use it when we had like a 3-car garage and it was spaced out and it felt like an actual gym. I had it in a room, one of the rooms in this place, and it was like, yeah, it's not really incentivizing. And I have a gym membership anyway, and it's so close. It's like literally a 5-minute drive. So I was like, okay, well, I need to stage the house. It doesn't look good with this bright, big, ugly red and black and yellow equipment. So got rid of that and was setting up this room, which now looks really good. So that was just a kind of day of going to all of the different furniture stores, picking up like little bits and pieces from around the place to make it look finished, because I'm getting new photos done this week. So that was a busy, fun day, but I'll come back to all my training and tracking here in a minute. And then on Sunday, what did we do? We trained on Sunday morning as well, and then we ended up heading just down to one of the local pools at one of the hotels. So the Conrad Hotel is really cool. They have a great pool area, great service, great menu. We ended up just doing some cocktails by the pool. We bought like a big shaker, and then you could do like a refill, which I've got a picture of here. It was wonderful. And a big gust of wind came and blew it over at one point. So the lady's like, oh, don't worry, I'll get you another one. I'm like, okay. So we had a couple of cocktails, and I must have read like 7 or 8 chapters of a new book, which is fantastic. I'm going to pop the picture up of that book right now. I guess if anybody has a hard time with decision making or clear thinking, this book was phenomenal. I felt like every paragraph, I'm like, oh my God, that is so important. And I'm just thinking about all the content that I wanted to put up with every single paragraph that I was reading, and then also just applying it to, my own circumstances, thinking about the people within my circle, and how it might apply to them. It was phenomenal. So I really had a great day of just reading, which I haven't had the opportunity to do in quite a while. Normally, Sundays for me is very much a planning day. You've got to do about 1,000 things, which I still do. But I made a point this week just to try and relax a little bit. So yeah, it was wonderful just to go and lay by the pool and chill out. And then last night after I guess we finished, we decided to go for one last hoorah. I guess it was the last supper before I started prep today again. And we went to a restaurant which you guys might be familiar with. I think it's a chain. It's called Moxie's. So we ordered steak bite appetizers. We tried 2 different old fashions and just split them. And then we had a sushi burrito cup and a vegetarian red curry. We didn't actually have any protein in that one. So that was kind of like our meal, which we just shared a bit of those. And then we ordered for take home a toffee bread and butter pudding, which is like one of my favorites. I like sticky date pudding personally. I think I have very fond memories of that because my nan used to make it when we were little. So I love sticky date pudding, but this is close enough. Toffee pudding will do. And it came with ice cream. So we took that home, and then I had a couple other things. We had like just an M&M cookie ice cream sandwich and some other ice cream. What's the brand called? Is it like Galanti? It looks so fancy in the supermarket, and I have never bought it. I always see it, and this brand is always like the most decadent, and I'm sure I didn't even look at the nutrition. I was like, it's going to be high fat. It's full cream. It was amazing. So that was kind of like my last meal, and yeah, back on the grind as of today. But you know what made this whole week kind of come together? I was still really active. So I want to show you here, if we go over to my data, obviously I didn't track a dang thing. I just made sure that, the meals that weren't eaten out, which are obviously the ones that I've described to you, I also did make sure that I would hit my proteins. So throughout the day, I'd either have Greek yogurt or, a different protein source, eggs, chicken, beef, seafood, it doesn't matter. It was all of the things. I definitely hit my protein, that was for sure. But training. So you can see I was still pretty active. That's one thing, again, that I think a lot of people make the mistake of doing after a big competition, or, they finish a fat loss phase. They might finish working with a coach. They might finish working out with a challenge, working in a challenge. And now they've kind of gotten to or close to where they want to be with their goal. And then they stop all the behaviors that were allowing them to get to the goal in the first place. So I've definitely made the mistake, many, many years ago, I'm going to say like 10 years ago now, where I didn't know any better, just completely taking the week off and doing all the food, and also just being really careless about my decisions. This was all, like, this past 7 days has just been, it's felt really comfortable. I didn't eat to the point where I was like, feeling overstuffed or full. Maybe one day, I think I remember saying the same, I'm actually really full. I don't think I'm hungry yet. So, very mindful about those decisions. But yeah, previously I had made the mistake of doing no exercise, just completely dropping the ball. I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think that the big shift in energy balance just doesn't leave you feeling very good. Even me, having eaten the way that I did this past week, which is probably like 2,000 to 2,500 calories. I mean, it might have ping-ponged back and forth. I don't know. I'm going to guess it's in the ballpark of that number. But with the increased sodium intake, the increased carbohydrate and water, I was already feeling like very swollen to the touch. Just going for a walk in the morning, as you can see here, I did 4 walks, intentional walks of 60 minutes. I could feel my fingers getting a little bit like sausage-like, when the blood kind of starts to pool. And again, that's just extra sodium, extra total body water, circulatory, difficulties. So if you also don't exercise, you do not feel good. So I'm glad that I did, but you can see here I got all of my resistance training sessions in. This week was a wonderful, free, no structured workout. I was actually kind of playing around with some of the exercises I know I have coming up in my new program, which is going to be going on the app probably next week. But it's been submitted. Our developers, it's now in their hands. They better get to work. So I was playing around with some of the new exercises and had a really good training week. It was just nice not to have to track all of my data just for this week, just for a little bit of a mental break, and to get through it in a reasonable time because I had so much going on with work. And then over to my cardio, you'll notice I didn't do any HIIT this week. I'm reintroducing three sessions this week, so about 90 minutes in total for HIIT, and I'll shoot for about 900 calories based on what my watch says. And then I also got my walking done for the most part. There were a couple of days, I didn't get to do any movement at all because work was so busy. So Monday and Thursday, you can see I didn't really get off my chair. 4,000 steps is about standard for me on a work day where I'm not very mindful about my activity. And my average came in at 10,550. So not too bad, I think, for, a week of break. And then my energy expenditure came in at 3,845. So that's a couple thousand down from where I need to be, moving back into my prep again starting today. So let's go over and look at my adjustments for this week. So that was last week that's highlighted green. So this week here, week 21, technically, wow, I will be hitting back into 1277, yay. It's just so tough to do, but look, I'm going to shoot for the moon and we'll see where I land. My averages have obviously been, anywhere from 1250 up to 1350. It is what it is. I will absolutely try my damn best to get these targets done. I've done some meal prep this week. I've got 2 different meals, and then I guess I prepared some protein sources. So I hope that I have a really successful week. And I think because I've just had 7 days of eating at much higher calories, I think that my hunger will be probably at bay this week. I'm assuming next week, once I've lost some body fat again, that my hunger will be right back to where it was right before my competition. So as far as training is concerned, I'm going to be shooting for 5 sessions. And again, I've got a brand new program that I'm going to be following. So that'll be Miss Bikini Olympia Part 4. Like I said, that'll go up to my training app, Be a Fit, probably next week. If I can put a rush on it and I can help in any way with our dev team, I've certainly let them know that I'm willing and able to, or willing and ready to do whatever I need to get it out as soon as possible. HIIT cardio, so again, 900 calories is what I'll be shooting for just based on what I track on my watch. Again, just to reiterate, those numbers and absolute values are not accurate. I'm looking at relative change from one week to the next. And then I'll be back to hitting 12,000 steps. So again, those planned walks that I do is basically the only way that I get that in. And that usually expends about 2,200 calories across the course of the week. So this will be my weekly goal for caloric expenditure. So 5,100 plus, hopefully. So that's what I'll be up to for this week. I think somebody asked a question in YouTube last week, and I'll pull up the questions. And I've also got a bunch of others from Instagram last week as well that I'm going to go ahead and respond to now. But somebody had asked, how do I calculate what my new target will be? So I just want to show you what I did. So just as an example, if I needed to lose, let me think here. I think it was 0.95 times 4 weeks. Yeah, 3.8. So that's about what I have gained just in this last, week since my show. So if we were to divide that by 4 weeks, it brings me down to a weekly or an average of 0.95 of a pound. So first and foremost, I'm going to divide that by 2.2046 to get it into grams. I need to multiply that by 1,000 to take it from kilograms to grams. So basically 430 grams is what I'm going to be trying to lose again each week up until my show. And then we need to assign a caloric value to that weight, and we can do that. But the question is, do we assign a caloric value of 9 calories, or do we assign a caloric value of 4 calories? And the reason I'm asking that question is, is that weight loss all fat at 9 calories, or is it closer to lean tissue at 4? And the answer is it probably depends. I think for the first couple of weeks, I'm probably more likely to be expending or losing more body fat, maybe just for this next week. But the leaner we get, and I've said this many times in previous videos, the more likely you are to start losing lean tissue because you don't have a whole lot of surplus on your body anymore to protect you. So when your body needs fuel, it's kind of looking around for the calories coming from your diet, and nope, they're not coming in. Okay, well, where else can we go? All right, well, she's got very little body fat left to take energy from, so we're going to start breaking down her lean tissue mass. So unfortunately, it's a real risk that we play when we get down to that extra lean body fat percentage. So that's why it's really important to diet at a slow and conservative speed and to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time so that you're not having to push really unrealistic rates of weight loss each week. So with that being said, I'm picking a number right in the middle. I'm going to multiply that by about 5.9. So that means that for me to lose 0.95 of a pound or 430 grams, I need to expend 2,500 calories, give or take. So that's in total. Now, I want to do that per week, so I'm going to divide that by 7 days. So that means that each day, I basically need to create a 363 calorie deficit every day. Now, I could do that through exercise. That sounds horrific. I'm already doing a lot of exercise. So, I know that for me, just sitting on the spin bike for 30 minutes, busting my butt, it's only 300 and something calories. So that means, if I wasn't going to modify my diet at all, I'd have to do 30-minute spin classes every day of the week. And that doesn't sound like something that I have any interest in doing. So that's why I'm bringing my calories back down. So I suspect that my maintenance calories right now at this new body comp around 133 pounds is probably about 1,600 to 1,650. And I know it sounds low, but I'm also a very sedentary human outside of the work that I do when I go to the gym. And that's pretty much it. So that's why I'm bringing my calories back down to around 1,270. So again, just to do that quick math, if we take my calories to 1,650, if that's my maintenance, you can see here, this is that number that I'm kind of shooting for. It's in the ballpark. I'm setting myself at 1,277, and the math there kind of checks out at 1,286. That's hardly a difference. So that's how I would make that adjustment, but you have to kind of know where your maintenance calories are. And again, that's the benefit of having a coach. So I am my own and I know how to do that. So I feel very comfortable with these numbers. So I want to, skip over now to the questions that I had from Instagram. So I'm going to pull those up on my phone and I'll pop them up on the screen for you as well. So the first question is, do you usually program hip adduction, so that's ADD, or is it a waste of time? So I think it really just depends what your goals are. I mean, it's not like the muscle group that I'm, thinking and meticulously planning, where am I going to hit my adductors? It's just not one that I'm thinking about all the time. You will certainly hit those across a range of different exercises, specifically your squats, your deadlifts, lunges, step ups. You're going to be using your abductors. And there are probably 5 other muscles that you're going to be using in those exercises as well, that are kind of all in that same area. It's kind of like the inner thigh. Maybe I'll put up a little graph here so that you can see what those are. In fact, yes, I'll do that. But is it a waste of time? Well, I think it's one of many muscles that we probably want to train. If you are time poor, and you have other muscles that are more important. If you are more interested in growing your glutes, if you're more interested in growing your quads, if you know you've got to grow in your upper body for strength and functional improvements, then it would probably be the one exercise, like a seated hip adduction, where you're squeezing your knees together. I probably wouldn't worry about it as much as those other lifts. But if you've got time to, absolutely. And if you want to see prominent increases in that area, then you would want to make sure that you're probably hitting about 12 to 15 working sets as a minimum each week. But keep in mind, you do have that muscle group working as a secondary muscle in some of those other exercises. So I wouldn't program like 12 to 15 sets just of seated abductions. You could probably include 6 working sets on that specific machine, or you could do like a Copenhagen plank or something like that. But it's also going to get worked in those other lower body exercises. So keep that in mind if you were someone that's still doing your own programming. So thank you for that question. The next person asks, how to fix glute imbalances. So again, I'd be looking at, well, what imbalance is it that you have? And then based on your training program, I would be making sure that whichever area needs bringing up, that you program more of that muscle group and you bring down the other. Just to help with the balance and the appearance. It would be like any other muscle group. If you are lacking in your rear delts, but you've got lots of programmed, medial and anterior, I would probably, shift some of that volume to my rear delt, and then drop off a little bit on the areas that I know are already very developed. Now, if you don't want to lose in the other area, so this is the catch, if you're already doing a minimum effective dose basically on your glute max and you were trying to develop your glute minimus or medius, you probably want to keep that volume, but you just need to do more of the other. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing after the feedback that I got after last week's show. So I want to pause a little bit on that specific comment and question, because I know there's one coming up on YouTube that I'm going to respond to, and I will answer what I'm going to be doing to bring up the upper area of my glute in a moment. Next question. Okay, so how much does coaching cost? Okay, so I guess it depends on the coaching program that you sign up to work with, either myself or my team with. We have a lot of different coaching packages. I believe the shortest is 8 weeks. If you're doing training only, I believe the shortest would be probably 4. We do like a 4-week training program for you if you want something custom. But for our nutrition coaching, where you're checking in every week with us, the minimum is about 8. Mine personally is 12, and then it ranges all the way up through to 12 months. So the price point is going to look a little bit different depending on which one you choose. Right now, I have the most affordable package that I personally offer is $17.99. And that is for light coaching. So you are limited to 15 minutes, basically the check-in. My normal one-on-one coaching clients for 12 weeks spend $3,500. That's my normal coaching price. But they get a full hour of my time every single week. So those are the differences. And then our coaches have their own different price points, and they are a little bit more affordable than mine. I think the girls charge anywhere from $1,200 for 12 weeks. I don't think that Shay offers 12 weeks. She does 24. And I think her prices range from like $24.99 upwards. So I guess I hope that answers that question. We also do have a Love Yourself Fit Challenge coming up here very soon. I'll put that up and some examples of what's included at the end. So please stick around for that. All the links for the Love Yourself Fit Challenge will be listed in the description of this video, that you can join for only $130. And that's a 12-week program where every week you get access to so many different things. There's video tutorials, workbooks. You get get access to the app. I do the live Q&As every week where you can ask me any questions. It's a really cool program. So for $130, you get a lot out of that one. So that's the more affordable option. Next question was, will you be at the Olympia in Vegas? I would love to meet you at the expo. So thank you for the question. I hope so. I think whether I place and I get to go as a pro or an amateur, I probably would like to go regardless. So I think I can confidently say, yes, I will be at the Olympia. Obviously, the outcome of my next competition is going to depend whether I will be competing or participating as a spectator. But I think they also have an amateur Olympia show, so an NPC amateur option. So again, depending on whether I want to be dieting at that time of the year, if I'm not going in as a pro, I guess that's still undecided. But I would like to be there just to go and watch. I think it's a lot of fun. I had so much fun just watching it from home last year. We did the pay-per-view and it was really, really good. Okay, next question. How do you know when somebody needs a refeed? So I guess for all intents purposes, let's get a definition going. So what is a refeed? So that is a period where we intentionally take our calories back up to our known maintenance calories, so where your body weight would be held steady, or in some cases, even a little bit above that. So this is, I guess, a strategy that a lot of coaches will implement during a fat loss phase. It can be done on a weekly basis, it can be done bi-weekly, it can be done every third week, it can be done for a day, a couple of days, or a week, and then it becomes more like a fully fledged diet break. And now we're moving into a different type of, I guess, dietary strategy. But for a refeed, it's typically 1 or 2 days, and the primary macronutrient that we are manipulating is often carbohydrate. Carbohydrate obviously helps with your performance. It's going to leave you feeling a lot better, and carbohydrates also tend to allow leptin to creep back up, if at all. It doesn't always happen. It usually has to happen for a couple of days back to back with a really good amount of carbohydrate reintroduced to alleviate and offset some of those hunger symptoms. I personally don't find that it has that effect, but a lot of people have said yes. And there are also plenty of case studies where we've also seen people's leptin level respond quite well to an increase. And again, an acute increase in carbohydrate results in an acute increase in leptin, but then it obviously just goes straight back down as soon as you take those calories from carbs away, which is disappointing. But anyhow, how do you know when someone should take a refeed? Look, there are so many variables that influence whether or not we would implement something like that with a client or when I do it for myself. I think often, we're looking at all the subjective symptoms of that individual. And we're looking at the ones that are negative, obviously. So, how's your hunger? How's your performance when you're training? How's your motivation for training? Are you seeing strength decrements and you're regressing in exercises? Are we starting to get injured, or we're starting to feel more pain and discomfort, as evidence of being under recovered? How's your sleep feeling? How's your general mood and persona? There are so many variables that we would want to consider whether or not somebody kind of needs a refeed, like from a physiological perspective, or whether it's just necessary psychologically, because we can make those decisions for both reasons, and they also don't have to exist exclusive of one another either. Both can be true at the same time. So I think I would be looking to a client's subjective scores and how they are feeling to then offer them a high day. I don't necessarily call them refeeds with my clients. As you see when I am putting them into my adjustments, I've just got high days, low days. And, some weeks, I don't have any set in stone structure. As you guys know, I set myself a calorie goal and I set myself a protein goal for the week. And then my carbs and fats buffer, depending on the day. Like, how am I feeling? What have I got coming up in the evening? If I've got a special event, social occasion, I need more food flexibility. What training have I got coming up? Have I got a really, heavy hitting whole body session that I might need more calories for? So, I'm very much on, I guess, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like self-regulatory, really. So, I will take high days if I need them, or sometimes it's still within my caloric budget for the week, but I calorie cycle. So I've got some days that are higher, other days that are lower. So I don't really refer to them as refeeds, but I definitely think it's important to have the capacity to be flexible with your symptoms. If you've got somebody that is coaching you and they're just hammering you, and they're not giving you any room to breathe, and you've got to hit these exact macros, and you've got to be within 1 or 2% every single day, and there's no flexibility, like that's just asking for problems. Caloric restriction is really difficult. And it can, in some cases, increase the risk of developing disordered eating or fully fledged eating disorders. So, there is an inherent risk by putting yourself on a diet. So I think it's important to allow some flexibility. And if a refeed helps you, kind of feel satiated, help alleviate or mitigate whatever the symptom is that you're experiencing, but then dive back into your fat loss calories and then continue on smoothly, then take as many dang refeeds as you need. The problem is that you may need a little bit more time then to get to the end goal. And that's, I think, where often people tend to underestimate the amount of time that they really need to get to that goal. And then, it results in cramming, really restricting calories, overdoing their exercise. And it's just not a great place to be. So I would say take those refeeds as often as you need, but then, think about that in the context of your larger goal. How many months have you allowed yourself to get to that goal? It isn't even realistic in one clean sweep. And plan accordingly. So that's the kind of thing that we do with our clients in our one-on-one coaching sessions. So thank you for that question. I hope that I answered that well for you. Next question. At what body fat do your periods stop? And do you experience hair fall during a calorie deficit? So for me personally, no to the hair loss. I hear this often. I don't know whether there's any legitimacy to it or not. I haven't seen a study that looks at hair loss for a very long time. I know there were some many years ago that were relating to creatine, and it was all kind of poo-pooed, and there wasn't really any repetition of some of those hair loss studies on creatine. But anyhow, I personally haven't had any hair loss. I think where somebody might start to experience hair thinning would just be in response to a really poor diet, inadequate in protein, inadequate in energy, inadequate micronutrient intake. I can see in a situation where somebody is, like in a severe deficit and have been doing that for a long time, that they might find themselves malnourished. And if we were to look at all of their blood biomarkers, we might actually see, frank deficiencies in some of the, important micronutrients that have a role to play in hair growth, or at least its retention. So I'm not saying it's impossible, and I don't doubt that some people have experienced that, but I would be looking at the way in which you've dieted, your micronutrient diversity, your food diversity, the extreme, how extreme was that? And perhaps if we were to, again, slow down that weekly rate of weight loss, it might result in fewer negative symptoms like that. And then when do periods stop? I think I've talked about this in previous videos. I think it really depends on the individual. For women, I have seen people, the minute they dip under 20% body fat, period's gone. Sayonara. It does not come back for a long time, and it's really hard to get it back, even with the reintroduction of calories and even with the reintroduction of some body fat. Maybe they're back at their baseline body fat and they still haven't recovered their period. So it's a process. I've worked with many women to recover their periods, and it's a wonderful experience when they do. I've had a lot of tears. They're like, oh my God, got my period back. And it's awesome because we know that their body's now, healthy enough to make a baby. But I've also seen some people really, really lean and not lose their cycle. And for the first time, this prep for me, I have to guess, I ran out of time last week or the week of my show to go and get my DEXA done. I'm not surprised. Maybe I would like to do one for the next show because it's going to be a similar, body comp. But I suspect I was probably just under 10% body fat, just under. And I still had all my symptoms of a period on my peak week. I did end up actually getting the period, but it was the cramping, the pain, the bloating. Oh my God, I was like, I'm screwed. I honestly was so devastated, like on Monday or Tuesday when I woke up with all of those symptoms and all was getting woken up in the middle of the night because of those symptoms. So yeah, this is the first one where I have basically kept my period all the way to the end. And I think that's probably a testament to the speed at which I did this cut. You guys saw how slow I did it. So slow. You saw my flexibility. You saw me try and do it as balanced as I could. I think it's probably been the most like relaxed, although I still know how stressed I am. But for me, like relative to previous preps, very relaxed. Still lots of stress and things going on in my personal life and in business, but it was much, much more comfortable, shall we say, and supported than previously. So I think that's probably why I still kept mine, just less stress in general. But yeah, it just depends. I'm sorry I don't have a clear cut answer because I don't think there's a normal for women. I think it really just depends. Okay, so the next one is I've just competed and I experienced binge eating for a week. I've never had these issues before. How can you help? Okay, so oh my gosh, first and foremost, I just want to say I'm sorry that you experienced that. I know it doesn't leave you feeling very good emotionally. It can often leave us feeling very uncomfortable physically, depending on how much food was consumed. I actually did a video a couple of weeks ago on my Instagram, and it was the title was Struggling with Binge Eating. I would highly recommend you take a look at that clip. I went through and not only just classified like what binge eating disorder is. I know this is just a once off for you based on your comment, but I think it just helps give some context as to what binge eating with all of the criterion listed out is. And then I talk about all the variables or all the behaviors and I guess situations that can potentially contribute to somebody entering into a binge eating episode. So I would go and listen to that. It's like a 12-minute video, and I don't want to repeat myself again for the sake of today's video already being 45 minutes. So I would highly recommend listening to that. And then I provide some strategies to help reduce the likeliness of being in a position where you feel like you're binge eating and you are kind of in that unconscious land where you're not really present in your body anymore, and it's almost like you're in autopilot. And I've experienced that before. I've worked with clients that have experienced this before, and it is a really unpleasant experience. And I hope that video will give you some really valuable insights as to how to mitigate that, and what you can do moving forwards behaviorally to prevent it from happening again. But if you've just done a competition, I just want to say, it kind of comes with the territory. And that's why I think it's so important for people that are still struggling with an eating disorder. This is not a good sport. It's not necessarily going to allow you to heal any faster. And I say that as somebody that was stupid enough to keep doing preps when I had one. Instead, I kept choosing, the physical work. I can just train my way through this, when I should have been working on my mind. It's nice to be free of that now, but it is a sport that comes with that risk, and you're subjecting yourself to extreme restriction and very low body fat. So the normal human response would be to eat to excess to kind of recover, because you've been basically starving yourself for the competition. Okay, so next question is, let me go across. How to build muscles at 58. What kind of training and food advice would you give? And thank you so much. Okay, so great question. And honestly, I don't think it would differ too much to what I would recommend for a young person. Resistance train as often as you can and as often as you enjoy. Make sure that you're doing some cardiovascular exercise as well, and choose a type of cardiovascular exercise that you enjoy. You do not have to do, treadmill walking. You do not have to do stair stepper. And I know there are a lot of coaches that, because that's what they do, they make that recommendation, and, they think that there's something magical about that type of cardio. All many ways lead to Rome, as I say. So if you enjoy low, slow, intensity, steady state cardio, then keep doing that if you so desire. It will burn calories. Now, it's not going to be as good for your cardiovascular fitness and maybe your heart health. So I do encourage people at times to do something that's going to get your heart rate higher. So a little bit of MIT or HIIT as often as you are comfortable, and it doesn't have to be long. I think something is better than nothing. I'd say do it at least 1 or 2 times a week. But if you enjoy just low leisurely walks or an easy bike ride with, your family, or you enjoy a dance class, or you like kickboxing, or whatever it might be, swimming. Do what you can do consistently. They all have, the capacity to burn calories. One is not better than the other in that case. It's just one will take you more time to accrue the same amount of calories than, the more intense form. So, I used to think, again, many years ago that you could, HIIT training was the only kind of training to help with fat loss. The low intensity steady state was ineffective. And, I've realized, they actually both can have a role to play. It's just, pick what you like. So I would say do some cardio as well. Probably hit a consistent step count. I think that just allows we can be more confident that you're moving your body often. And that is so important from a longevity perspective. And then from a nutrition standpoint, same advice I'd give to anybody else. High protein diets are great. Stay somewhere within that range. I think the older we get, perhaps we would benefit from a slightly higher protein intake. So, if we're looking at a range of 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of lean body mass, all the way up to 2.9 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass. Or if you're wanting me to tell you in pounds, it'll be 0.9 to 1.3 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. I would pick the upper quadrant, maybe like the upper quarter, for anyone over the age of 40. But if that is giving you unnecessary stress in trying to hit your carbs or your fats because it's too restrictive, and it's leading to dysfunctional eating behaviors, or it's just causing you, mental just discomfort, and it's reducing your quality of life, it's having a negative impact on your mental health and well-being, then just stay somewhere within that range. Protein is so important in preserving our muscle and keeping our, metabolism, healthy and robust. And then in terms of your macros, enjoy carbs and fats, as you like. Have a good fiber intake. I say, 25 grams and above is, every day or as many days of the week as possible. You've seen me do my check-ins. I am not perfect, but my averages for the weeks are mostly 25 grams and above, but I will have days where I am under 10, and that's because I am going to enjoy myself on the weekends. I'm going to have some refined carbs. I'm going to have my crumble cookies, and I'm going to have my toffee pudding and or wine, whatever it might be. But I think the average over the course of the week is what's most important. So have a fiber goal, have a protein goal, eat a modest amount of calories based on the activity that you do. Keep an eye on your blood biomarkers, and obviously if you're trying to move those in a direction that takes you to a healthier space, great. Then we probably need to pay more attention to the overall energy density as well of your diet. So I know that's kind of very broad, but to give you more details, I'd need to work with you as a client. So if you're interested, feel free. Okay, we're coming up to one of our last questions here. So abs. Can anybody get them? I can't seem to show them no matter what I do. Oh, I hear this all the time. It's really frustrating. And I think this also comes down to your abdominal structure as well. So how you are put together, like from an anatomical perspective. Some people have very deep set tendons, and they have very deep set grooves. So they can walk around at a much higher body fat percentage and still have abs. They might have more body fat in other places too. So we all tend to store our body fat in slightly different areas. For me, for instance, it is all hamstrings and bottom of glute. Then probably my back, and then probably my triceps. Sorry, but some people, their larger percentage of their body fat is around their midsection. So when they diet, they start to see leanness through their upper body. They start to get really lean legs. They get to see really lean arms. And it's unfortunately, you have to keep going to be able to then get that last bit of body fat off to kind of reveal the underlying muscle tissue. I had that issue just with this prep, thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to be striated all over my shoulders. I'm going to have striations in my quads. I'm going to be really lean in my glutes, but I've still got body fat on the backs of my hamstrings. And that's the most important thing for bikini. So, I was really worried about that. And again, that's just my genetic. That's where my body chooses to store body fat. So it is frustrating if we've got more central adiposity. And unfortunately, it's also a little bit more risky as well from a health perspective if you've got more visceral fat. But it doesn't mean that you've got nothing that you can do. I think, again, all of the principles that I talk about with regards to nutrition and how to, create a safe and healthy deficit and how to do your nutrition and training, it will allow you to eventually get to the low body fat percentage that you'll reveal the underlying abdominals. So if you haven't been able to see your abs, it probably just means that you haven't been able to get rid of that bit of body fat. So you'd have to keep dieting to get there. If you're wanting to achieve that physique, I would first just question, is it really worth it? Because you've heard me complain for the last 18 weeks about how hard dieting is, and it's a sport. I'm doing this because it's a sport. It's like any other sport. There's always going to be some kind of sacrifice. So is the sacrifice of seeing your abs really worth it? Because there is a lot of sacrifice. So I hope that answers that question. If you've got something more specific that you want to ask or learn about, feel free to reach out to myself or my coaching team. Marry me. Okay, that's not a question. Next one, what have we got here? Can you lose 20 pounds of fat in 2 months while maintaining muscle? Okay, so I actually quickly did some math before I started recording this because I wanted to make sure I could answer this one correctly. It honestly depends what your body composition is. I don't have any of your details in this question. 20 pounds of weight loss over 2 months, just as a number in general, that absolute number, it's a lot. So I automatically am thinking the only way that would be safe to do would be is if you have a lot of body fat. So for example, you could do that in 8 weeks if you were about 195 to 200 pounds, because if you then work out what the safe and efficacious weekly rates of weight loss are, which I tend to sit somewhere around 1.2% as a maximum and then less. I mean, you saw me diet at 0.3% of my body weight per week. So 1.2% is a heck of a lot more. That's 3 times more than what I'm doing, 4 times almost. So that's my maximum. Somebody at 195 to 200 pounds could diet at 1.2% of their body weight per week, which I think worked out to be, what was it? I can't remember the exact number, but it was close to, 2.8 pounds a week roughly. So if you did that over 8 weeks, you'd be almost at 20 pounds. So yes, if you were 200 pounds, you could probably do that, and I'd feel okay about it. But again, your subjective symptoms are still going to govern or warrant whether or not that it is realistic for you or not. If you are 150 pounds, however, again, if we're working at that maximum 1.2% of your body weight per week, you'd only be losing about 14 pounds over 8 weeks. So again, it really depends on your starting body composition, your body weight and body fat mass. So I hope that helps. I know it's not super detailed, but I need a little bit more information to answer that with more clarity. So we're going to pop over now to YouTube because there were a few questions here, and then I think we'll just have time to get this in another 60 minutes. I remember one of your videos, you mentioned that you'd stopped training your back. Can you elaborate on that? Thank you, Miss Beauty. Okay, so why did I stop training my back? First and foremost, I was originally doing figure. I will pop a picture of me up on the screen right now of my figure days. So this was back in 2016. It was my second year of competitions, and I had historically trained a lot of upper body, probably 20 sets to 30 sets a week on my back, to failure. So I did a lot of back training. And I just got to the point where in order for me to be competitive in figure, it would have meant that I'd have to hop on gear. And I was just like, hell to the no. I do not want to do that. I see what those girls look like now, and it's just not the aesthetic that I would want to look like personally. I had no judgments on those girls. They're so impressive. I also know how hard they train. And I also kind of thought, do I really want to have to be forced to train like that for the rest of my life? I want to do this because I love it. And I think to be at that level, I would have no longer enjoyed it. And I want to do this until I'm really old and, for obviously a very, very long time. So I'm thinking about my long-term commitment to the sport and to lifting weights. So yeah, I completely stopped training my back because I knew I didn't need that level of muscularity anymore. And also more recently, now that I'm down in Bikini, definitely don't need it. And I was also busting out of all of my clothes. So I had like, I remember one beautiful winter coat that I had, and it was like an expensive one. And I remember just leaning forwards to like grab something off my floor of my car one day, and I just heard rip, 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 and the whole thing just exploded. I'm like, that's it. I'm busting out of my clothes. Nope, no more. Or a stretchy coat. That's it. So yeah, I just was like, I don't want to train anymore. So I just basically stopped. Right now, all I do is a volume that I suspect isn't really doing a whole lot of anything. I like training my back. I love pull-ups. I love pull downs. I love row. I like all back exercises. But I'm not doing them in my program anymore because I want to grow them. I don't even care if I lose some. It's nice to have a functionally strong back should one day I fall off a cliff and have to be able to hold myself up. But there's not that many situations in practicality that I think I'm going to necessarily need that for. But it's good to have it. So I just do like a maintenance volume, I think between 9 and 12 sets. And right now I'm not doing anything that hits my upper traps because I'm very trap dominant already. So I'm doing some lower underhand supine grip stuff. I'm doing more lat stuff at the moment, less kind of upper traps. So yeah, I don't know whether that's enough elaboration, but I'm basically doing a maintenance volume now of 9 to 12 sets just because I like them, not because I'm trying to grow. Last one, I think this was just a question about planning to reverse diet. Obviously my answer was no. I will do that after my next competition on the 21st of June, but it won't be a reverse. It will be a build, and it'll probably just be focus on the things that judges want to see more of, and just kind of maintain a healthy body weight for that time period in between. I don't know that I need to make a whole lot of changes, and then so I'll just kind of stay at a weight that feels realistic for my lifestyle, and then if I come back in for the Olympia, if I get there, then I just cut again. Okay, this is the upper glute question, and then we will wrap it up. So I need more upper glutes as well, based on the feedback from Sandy. What exercises do you suggest? Thanks in advance. So I have a picture here that I wanted to bring up on the screen for you to look at. So you can see here we've got the different areas of the buttocks. So we've got the gluteus max, we've got the gluteus medius, and if we were to imagine taking a slice through this section here, the muscle underneath is the gluteus minimus. So it too kind of sits in this area. It's kind of right around here. So those are the ones that I'm going to be really trying to hammer home for my show. What I did notice is my bikini kind of sat kind of where this line is, you can see between the muscles, there's muscle separation, and I had a little bit of a gap here. So I could either just bring my bikini down, or I can train my glutes more, and I'm happy to do that. So I'm going to be doing a lot of, I guess, hip extension, and really focusing on like full range of motion, like really kind of getting like if I'm doing a kick back, so I'm going to be coming all the way into the lengthened position. So imagine if this is my glute. I know this is a terrible example, but bear with me. I want to get it into the full lengthened position, and then I want to also come back into the complete flexion. So I can really feel that upper part of my glute. I probably haven't really spent a whole lot of time focusing specifically on that. So now I'm just more conscious of it when I do a kickback on the cable, or when I do a kickback on the machine. I'm really trying to find that like the shortest range of motion that I can to kind of get up into that little, like where it attaches, just so that I can feel it in that spot. And then I've also been playing around with my bands. So the My Glute Factory glute bands, which also are available for purchase if you'd like them and you need a new set, because they do get a little stretchy after you've had them for a year. So if you are in the market for some new ones, go grab them off my website. But I was playing around with a supine lying banded abduction, believe it or not. So you can do a seated abduction and you hit your glute medius fine. When I was doing it on my back, however, it really isolated my glute minimus and medius, and to the point where I'm sore this morning. I can feel it. So I did it flat with feet flat, and I'll put up a video demonstration from our app to show you what that exercise is. And then I also did a heels elevated glute abduction. I don't believe I have that film because I was just playing around with stuff the other day. And let me tell you, that was right up high in my top glute. So yeah, supine lying, heels elevated glute abduction. So you could probably do both those variations on different days. I wouldn't do them on the same day because you're going to just toast your glutes. But those worked really well. So that's where I'm going to start. I've already added in a little bit extra volume in this training program. And I have texted Brett and I was like, Brett, what do you know that I don't know? Hopefully he responds to me at some point and I can go and get a good session in over at his gym. He's just expanded and got a bunch of new stuff. So I'm yet to go over and see it all. So hopefully in the next week or two, I'll have a video filmed at the gym and he might have some new knowledge. But I think so much of it is just, I'm going to play around myself and just see what feels the best. And then when I know that, I will share it with you guys. So I think that's pretty much all. There were lots of comments on this video and I don't know whether I'm going to have time to go through everything today. Just lots of congratulations. There's a surgery question here that I think I might save until next week. So I'll make a note to come back to this one. And some other questions as well about body fat. Tan, hair color. I'm going to be experimenting with my hair color this week. I'm going to try a temporary, what are they called? It's not a permanent color, like one that I can just put in and it'll a semi-permanent, I think. So I've got to call my hairdresser and see if she'll be open to playing with a slightly darker color just to give some more contrast with my suit. I don't want to go too far from my natural color just because it's taken me, I haven't colored it for 2 years. So but I also had a hairdresser put this dark color here that you can see. So that part there, and then it's balayage, it's blonded on the end. This is permanent and it's not my natural hair color. So I was a bit upset about that. But anyhow, I might try and find a color I can match with this dark color just for show day, and then it'll eventually fade out pretty quick, I believe. At least that's what everybody on this feed post was telling me. So that's kind of what I will be doing this week. So guys, again, I just want to wrap up and remind you where you can get free resources, information about coaching, all of my meals from my prep from the last 18 weeks if you're interested. Please take a look at the links in the description of my videos. You can get access to 2 chapters of my book for free, which is the Complete Exercise Guide to Muscle Hypertrophy. All you've got to do is pop in your email and I'll email the first 2 chapters. And if you like it, you can get the book. I've got free training programs where you can download those on my website. They're not in the app. This is just one of the freebies that I have. You can also subscribe to my app. If you would like more information about our one-on-one coaching, please reach out to us. Again, you can go to beabody.com/coaching. And then I was going to talk a little bit about our one-on-one challenge at the end. So we have coming up the Love Yourself Fit Challenge, which kicks off, I think, July 9. I hope I'm saying the right date. It's probably something different, but it's early July, so we've got a few weeks to think about it. We are offering either DIY, so $130, and you'd get access to an educational guide. All of my video tutorials is an audible version as well for those people that are busy and time poor. Every week there's a live Q&A. You get access to recipe guides. You've got everything included. Or you can go one up if you'd like extra accountability and work with one of our coaches. So I'm coaching, our whole team are coaching. We have a new coach, Dr. Gabrielle Fundero, who's also going to be looking after our clients who are interested in learning how to achieve their optimal health goals without focusing on calorie counting or tracking macros. So I'm really excited to have her on our team. So if anybody's interested in that, we'll be offering those processes too with our DIY challenge and the Love Yourself Fit challenge as well. So all of that information can be found on my website, beabody.com. But other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic week ahead. Good luck with your own goals. And don't forget to ask questions. I'll see you next week.